This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've managed to find a Varro's eagle owl with its thick-tailed bush baby kill. Isn't that just amazing? Welcome to your very own live safari from the wilds of Africa. Hello again, welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. My name is Damon, and behind the camera this afternoon we've got Marcel. And like I said, we've come out into the far south of the reserve, into the plains, and we've managed to find this amazing sight, this Varro's eagle owl with its bush baby kill. Now, as I said, this is live, and we'd love to hear from you, so please get in touch with us using the hashtag the hashtag WildEarth rather. And you can also, if you're under the age of 18, send your questions through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, this is absolutely incredible, everybody. This Varro's eagle owl is resting up there with its bush baby kill. It must have happened sometime during the night, both of these animals being mainly nocturnal. And you can just imagine how that bush baby must have been up in one of these big fever trees, perhaps looking for gum to feed on. And it must have not noticed the eagle owl watching it from nearby. Perhaps, I don't know if you can hear the wind blowing in the background, it's been blowing all day. Perhaps the wind helped to conceal the owl's approach. And it swooped in and would have grabbed this bush baby using its huge talons. It may have happened quite early this morning, seeing as just looking at the scene, it doesn't look like the owl has fed very much on this bush baby. And it's just hanging on to its prize while it rests until the cover of darkness when it might start to feed. And look at how it's sitting dead still. And just that lack of movement is going to help to keep it as inconspicuous as possible, because other predators or other birds of prey might notice it and try to rob it of its kill. Smaller birds might even come in to mob it, try and chase it away. And in fact, we've been sitting here for quite some time now, and a little bit earlier, another bird of prey called an African cuckoo hawk flew in and tried to mob the owl. But this is just fantastic, and there's so much to look at with this owl, so we're going to spend a bit of time with it, and we'll get into more of that in just a sec.
Good afternoon and welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. So my name is Steve and I'm joined by BK on camera all the way over there. Welcome everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon so far. Don't forget to send your questions. Hashtag WildEarth on the Twitter or YouTube chat stream. So love being in the river. The drainage lines are such a wonderful place to look for tracks, for animals. It's apparently 29 degrees Celsius today, but it's windy. I mean, I'm wearing 2 layers, 3 layers already. It's cold. It's not a very comfortable day. So a lot of the animals come down into these depressions to try and hide away from the wind, because the wind, first of all, is uncomfortable. It cools them down, and also their detection for animals, for predators, is obviously eliminated. They can't hear. But down here, it's quite calm. But on the ambient mic, you might be able to pick up that the trees are really, really moving. And I found a wonderful little nest over here. Now this is what we call a woven nest. It's not like a weaver nest, it's a ball that's been sort of put together. There's not too much coordination with regards to it, but what they do use most of is what we call blue seed grass. These little balls there, this is called blue seed grass, and this is a characteristic nest of a blue waxbill. They sort of get the long grass pieces together and they roll it into a ball. It's not a weaving like the weavers you see plaiting and really doing an intricate design. This goes in. First of all, the male does the cutest thing you've ever seen. is he'll take a piece of grass like this, and he'll see the female, and he'll sit on the end of a branch, and he'll go chip, 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 to show her that he's got some nesting material, and he would like to build her nest. And so it's a bit of a gift, it's a bit of a building block, almost like saying to someone, here we go, here's the home I'm going to make for you, but here's the first brick. So I think it's quite amazing. And obviously it doesn't last very long. It's organic, and it'll just break back down into the ground. So we're going to keep having a look around here, see if we can find any tracks, see if we can find any animals.
Lovely, and so nice to have you all on safari with us. We have a beautiful scene of some of the typical trees that we get here in Juma. My name is Trishala, and I've got Niels on camera this afternoon, and as Steve said to you, a little bit chilly, but it is okay, especially now that the sun is beating down on us. But like he said, uncomfortable. Now there's a specific tree in the middle there that I wanted to show you, and that is a Marula tree. That's a very iconic tree in South Africa. Sclerocaria berea is its scientific name, and it's lost most of its leaves. And that's obvious because we're in our dry season. So it will stop investing any nutrients in the leaves, and it'll kind of almost in a bit of an estivating state, a state where it tries not to use much of its resources, so that when the wet season does come around, it has an abundance to work with. Now, if you have ever had Marula fruits, you'd know they are amazing. Linda, you say Marula is the Ellie's favorite. It certainly is. Elephants love Marulas. You often see them, because elephants get a little bit desperate for Marulas sometimes. You'll see Marula trees totally pushed over from the might of elephants, trying desperately to get to those fruit. And Marulas have a very special adaptation to deal with that. And that is that they drop their fruit before the fruit are actually ripe. So that would mean that elephants can pick the ripened fruit from the ground instead of pushing over the trees and killing them to try and get to ripe fruits that are still hanging on the branches. And I think that's very, very clever. Hi, Pranav. You'd like to know which tree is the favorite amongst all animals. That's really difficult to answer because different animals like trees for different reasons. But in my opinion, I think that Marula is definitely high up on that list. Elephants love it for the fruit as well as the bark. They strip the outer bark away, and there's an inner bark called the tree cambium, which is the most active part of a tree. And there's a very, very basically active cells that grow inward and outward that create inner bark and outer bark. Elephants love that. They love the fruit. And leopards like to hoist their kills in Marulas. They're tall, they're sturdy, and they don't have any thorns on them. Most trees out here in the bush have thorns because there's lots of herbivores. And thorns are a way to protect a tree, kind of for self-defense. And Marulas don't have thorns. There's also a moth called the lunar moth. And the Marula is the larval host for the lunar moth, and it's absolutely beautiful. So for me, I think Marulas are number one.
We're still with our Verreaux's eagle owl up in its fever tree and its bush baby kill. And I don't know if you can hear in the background, there's a dark-capped bulbul busy frantically calling. And I wonder if it hasn't maybe spotted this owl. And remember earlier I mentioned that lots of little birds will often come and mob owls during the day. So we're going to stick around here for a bit, and we'll see if this bird plucks up the courage to come and mob this owl. welcome to everyone that's watching online. Good to have you with us. We're currently in an ad break with our SABC audience. How crazy is this, everybody? A Varro's eagle owl with a thick-tailed bush baby. Some of you may remember a couple of weeks ago that we set out to actually try and find you a live thick-tailed bush baby to film. We didn't quite manage to find one, but we've now managed to show you one, albeit a dead one, which is, I suppose we're halfway there. We still want to try and find you a live one though. But just to give you an idea for size, I mean, that bush baby is about the size of a young monkey, and that owl completely dwarfs it. So it gives you an idea for how big that Varro's eagle owl is, and also an idea for the power that it must have to have been able to have killed that bush baby, to have caught it and then flown up into the tree with it, or perhaps it even killed it right there. Maybe that is the site where the kill happened. And just like the larger eagles, it's got massive talons that it would have used to grab and then kill that bush baby with. Okay, we're going to head across to Steve and see what he's got for you.
Welcome back live to Djuma Private Game Reserve, everybody, where we had an elephant a moment ago, and you can just see his bottom. There's his bottom, there he is. It's a young bull. Now, we were just trying to find you some animals, you see. Let's move up a little bit there, BK. Hopefully we can get another view. It's a young bull. We were just trying to think, where can we find the animals? And it's a really good place to find them in the drainage, as I said, because the wind really disorientates animals. But elephants are often in the drainage, whether it's windy or not, because these drainage lines have got very deep sort of rooted trees, which are still quite green. Oh, that's okay, my boy. That's okay. Which are still quite green. And a lot of the grass as well is also very long, delicious grass down here. And elephants, obviously, he's going to show us how big he is. He's going to smash a stick. Now, he's giving us a little bit of a warning there. Is it a girl? Is it a boy? It's actually a young lady. That is a young lady, which means there must be more nearby. You don't often find females on their own. You see the warning? She had her head slightly up. It's just that they get a bit anxious as well in the wind, you see, elephants, because there's so much going on. She stuck her head up slightly. She moved away, but the tail went a little bit stiff. She's watching us. Don't think she's not watching us. If you know anything about horses, horses can see backwards like that, so can an elephant. So now she's busy feeding, which goes to show she's relaxed again, but it doesn't mean she's not paying very careful attention to our movements. That very delicate and sensitive trunk, she's able to access an enormous amount of food.
We're still with our Varro's eagle owl, and it still hasn't moved too much. But I would really love to show you in the bird book just a couple of features of this owl. Means that we can use to identify it as a Varro's eagle owl. So there we go, there it is over there. So one of the biggest owl species, or the biggest that we get here in Southern Africa. But have a look at those beautiful pink eyelids. Isn't that just incredible? And it's a bit tough to see with the owl that we've got here in front of us, just because of the glare of the light. Look at those black sideburns. Inkov, you're asking what other predators would feed on bush babies. Inkov, things like leopards, diurnal birds of prey, like maybe even crowned eagles, large birds of prey, about the size of this eagle owl and bigger. If they manage to find a bush baby moving around during the day, they would also try to hunt it. A snake, a big snake, if it was able to find the bush baby, that would also probably feed on it. And just like the owl, the eagle would of course use its talons to kill it. And I'd just like to show you these quickly. Look at the size of those talons that this owl has got. And to give you an idea of how big those talons are, they are reportedly about the same length as a lion's track on the ground, so about 14 centimeters or so long. Those are absolutely massive talons and super powerful, and that's what it will use to kill its prey with. And in addition to bush babies, because this owl has got such big talons and it's so big, it will hunt an incredible array of prey items. Said to have one of the biggest kind of arrays of prey species of any of the owl species. Rosalind, you're saying this is amazing. I really agree with you, Rosalind. Not just because of how incredible this is, but particularly for me, this is my absolute favorite bird species. So to get to see this is just insane. And I think what we're going to do is, because this owl isn't doing too much for the time being, we are probably going to leave it now, let it continue with its resting, and then we'll come back here when the sun gets a little bit lower in the sky, and maybe we'll get to see it feasting on that bush baby. In the meantime, we're going to head out and go and see if we can catch up with that mother cheetah and her 2 cubs.
We've got a beautiful view of the wonderful Drakensberg escarpment from here at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy, just as we wait to see what comes alive this fabulous winter's afternoon. It's nice and bright, though a little windy. Who knows what today will bring this evening. Welcome, I'm Michael Anderson, and behind the camera is Gerrit. And as I said, you are joining us here at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy. And we don't know what to expect this afternoon. We are hoping that we can find a group of elephants that was recently seen at our camp. And they've moved up into these low hillsides overlooking the Drakensberg. And we wonder if maybe we'll find them feeding on some of this dried grass. Hopefully we do, in a nice and open area. And we'll get them on the camera for you, because they are a wonderful herd, very friendly, very happy, and they love to be around us. They're always around our camp, so that's really, really fantastic.
They certainly do. They absolutely love the attention, or at least in our opinion. And they are beautiful animals to spend time with. I've been lucky the last few shows that we've had together. We've had so many elephants. I also really enjoy that I get to share this experience with all of you. Now, the more that you watch, you'll get a good understanding of the areas that we're in, and when I tell you I'm on this side of the reserve or that side of the reserve, and you'll get to know Juma so well. So at the moment, I am on our southern boundary. So these elephants are actually on a separate traverse area, but we can still watch them from the road. And that just shows you the animals can move around as much as they like, and they don't see boundaries that we do. Now look at that. They're pulling the bark, or this youngster is pulling the bark off an already dead tree, so it's not going to get to that juicy cambium that I was telling you about, the inner bark, but at least it's trying. It's copying the parent. Erin, you were asking, well, how heavy can an elephant get? Oh, yes, you're very big and strong. That was an intimidation tactic by this little one. Well, Erin, big bulls can get to about 6 tons, and that is really, really huge. Cows are more around 3 to 4 tons. Massive, massive creatures. The largest land mammal is the African elephant. There's drongos flying about trying to get the insects that the elephants are kicking up as they pluck on the grass. Just a wonderful scene. I'm going to stick around with them for a little longer.
Thanks, Trish. It is wonderful spending time with elephants, everybody, and it is important to understand the subtle signs that they give off. Just little subtle signs elephants give off so that you can spend time with them and watch them beautiful. Hello, Ashley. You want to know where an elephant's blind spot is? Well, directly behind it. Directly behind it, but you're not going to get there. Can you see how she is looking at us now? She knows where we are. She can see the front of my car. And if I moved slightly, she would turn her head a little bit to the right so she could still see me. And then directly above the head and possibly right underneath the face. But to get into those positions is quite tricky. But in saying that, this elephant is part of a herd. We can just hear slight little crunches and branches in the thickets nearby. But we can see there she's turned and she's looking at us again. But we can't see the rest of the herd. It always amazes me how these elephants can just disappear, vanish in the thickets. And you just listen for the movement of leaves and branches. That's a telltale sign. There we go. She's moving again. Her eyes are very soft. Can you see that? The eye is a little bit soft. It's half lidded. It's not very well open. And she's looking at us. And, well, you come back to us shortly. We'll see what she gets up to. Hello everybody, how are we doing? Behind the scenes look, all our wonderful viewers out there on the YouTube chat stream watching us live once again. There's a little cheeky elephant cow on her own here. Let me try and move up a bit, BK. She's not very happy with life, but that's okay. We don't expect her to be happy with life, just happy with us. That's important. Let's see if we can get another view of her. We'll be coming out of an ad break shortly, everybody, but stay with us. Here we go. Welcome back live to Juma Private Game Reserve, everybody. Don't forget we are live and interactive, and please, if you have any questions, send them through to #WildEarth. Throw them in the YouTube chat stream, or if Twitch is your preferred platform. And if there's any kids out there and the kids' questions are open, just email kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We found a second elephant. This is much bigger than the first one, and the first one, who wasn't too sure about life, has gotten closer to this one, and now she's far calmer. Elephants have that effect on each other. The bigger the elephant normally, the older it is. That's generally the way it works, and the more experience that they have. So, as a general rule, if you happen to be driving along, I know many of you have been to the Kruger National Park, and many of you maybe haven't yet. If you are driving along and you come across a herd of elephants like this, and you can see that they're doing this, the trunk is moving, the branches are moving, and they're doing that. You can see the babies like you saw with Trishala, and everything's good. Everything's good. But if you're not sure and you see an elephant from a distance, just switch your car off. Binoculars are always a good thing. Have a look at the elephants. What are they doing? Are they moving around, feeding? Can you see the babies? And if so, you can go a little bit closer before switching off. Janice, you want to know why the animals don't attack our vehicles? Well, Janice, ethical guiding is essentially the principle of respecting the animal's space. Now, I could quite easily drive right up to that elephant and bump her with my car, but that would not be ethical guiding. That would be influencing the animal's behavior. And in the chat I'm talking about now with regards to understanding what the elephants are doing, if they are busy feeding and doing everything calm and relaxed, you can see the babies, the tail is nice and soft, they're feeding, you can go a little bit closer. But if you don't see the subtle signs of the elephant standing very still, the head coming up, the tail going stiff, the eye blaring open a bit, and you go closer, you could potentially find yourself in a position whereby that animal could potentially become aggressive and could potentially attack your vehicle. But ideally, that is not what we want to do.
Welcome back, everybody. So we've been out searching for this female cheetah, and we just come across a group of African white-backed vultures. They were perched or sitting on the ground quite close to us. Unfortunately though, they've all taken flight and headed off into the distance. Quite tough to keep track of them in this wind. And they've taken off and they're soaring up towards the mountains behind us. Probably going to go look for a big tree to roost in for the night. We had a good look at their chests while they were sitting on the ground there, and they both had very full crops, which indicates that they've been feeding. And so I wonder if it's not, maybe you may remember from yesterday we found that impala that had been killed by the cheetah, and perhaps they've been feasting on that carcass. So I think we're going to go quickly en route to go look for this cheetah. Let's go have a look at that carcass from yesterday and see how much damage has been done to it by the scavengers.
So it didn't take us long to find what we were looking for. Well, it's not actually the exact herd we were looking for, but it's one of the large male elephants that often comes down to the dam close to our camp. And we're not 100% sure, but we think this might be an elephant called Kumo, who used to have a collar, but he's managed to shake it off in the last week or so. But he's a massive elephant. You can't really tell the size because we're slightly above him on a hillside, but if this elephant was next to our vehicle, it would be 2 or 3 times taller than our vehicle. Probably near 4 meters tall, this elephant. Absolutely huge. There are a couple of other elephants too, which are around, but he's definitely the biggest of them. And you can see how dry it is here. I know that you've been seeing a lot of the elephants eating a lot of dry things, but this elephant is no different, having to make do with sticks and twigs. But there's a fabulous amount of nutrition in the roots of these plants. So you'll see often he'll be digging with his feet to try and get roots out. Even using the tusks sometimes. He's got fairly large tusks, which you can just see behind the branches. There you go. Linnae is asking about the tusks and how big they get. Well, Linnae, this elephant here's tusks are fairly decent size for a male, a little bit small, but they can probably... Oh, he didn't like that comment. Sorry, boy. No, so they can get quite a lot larger. You know, some of the biggest elephants in the world have tusks maybe weighing 100 kilograms, somewhere around there. So that's very long. It's as long as, you know, maybe 2 meters. So from where they are now, almost touching the ground, the whole length of its trunk. But that's very rare. There might be less than 30 elephants with tusks that size left in the world. So this elephant, although if it is Kumo, I didn't see nicely, might be around about 40 years old, and his tusks won't grow a lot more, but certainly maybe a little bit more. So he's got an all right set of tusks. So Linnae, I hope that helps. So maybe up to 2 meters, or maybe even a little bit more than 2 meters on a very huge tusker, but on a normal elephant, probably about the size we just saw here, was about the size that they would get.
Elephants just amaze me, and spending time with them more and more and more over the years, it just never gets boring. Now, one of the really interesting things about science and how do we know what animals eat, we watched that elephant. She had her face stuck in here, and she was feeding and actually ripping the bark of this over here. I can hear branches over there. There's a tree being smashed. We've obviously just moved away from the herd to come back and show you this. And this is, I think this is the river thorn. It's one of our acacias. You see how she's taken the bark and stripped it off there and not really eaten much more of the plant. Now, you try to stick your face in there. I'll try to show you. It is a very delicate job. Very delicate job. Look at those thorns. That is designed for slowing down animals eating them. But elephants take this entire branch normally and just stick it right in the face. I don't quite know how, but they've got very strong mouths and tongues and bodies, and they ingest all of that. And it's part of the process, actually. All these plants have evolved mechanisms of protecting themselves, but some of them don't do a very good job of it. As you can see, this has been manicured by elephants. This is a silver cluster leaf that has been smashed by an elephant. Seppo, we hope you learn a lot. This show is all about education. It's all about showing people what's going on in the wild, and we love hearing your questions and comments, so please keep them coming through. So now this tree, you can imagine by the size of the trunk, should be a lot bigger, but it's not, because the elephants have been pushing it and breaking it constantly to feed on the bark, possibly even the leaves, although the leaves of this tree are incredibly bitter. Next level bitter. Next level. Okay, but damage happens. You saw the tusks. We talk about tusks. And what are the purpose of tusks? This is exactly the purpose of tusks. It's for gouging into the bark and stripping it off, because elephants love eating bark. There is an enormous amount of nutrients.
Steve is absolutely right. I myself have tasted the silver cluster leaf, and it is not pleasant at all. Now, can you see what I see? Something very well hidden. A lovely giraffe. Now, we've got a really nice view because we are actually below it. So we are in that dry riverbed that you've heard so much about, the Mulwati. And this guy is just above us on the banks, hiding his head. Amazing. Now, all the animals that are herbivores will be looking to get the last bits of nutritious leaves. And there are a few left. Luckily for this giraffe, its height gives it the advantage of being able to browse where other herbivores can't. I can just see its tongue. I wonder if we'll be able to catch it. They've got very strong tongues that are able to reach and pull leaves right off the tops of the trees. A gorgeous, gorgeous giraffe bull having a bit of a snack. Hello. This is such an awesome view, guys. We don't usually get to see them from this angle, and I'm really, really enjoying it. They almost seem to prefer it. You know, when we drive up to giraffes, very quickly they move away, and this guy is very, very comfortable. Just gorgeous, aren't you just? All right, well, we're gonna get the SABC viewers back in a bit, so I'm just gonna be quiet. Our giraffe is now hiding from us. Down here at Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. There we go, popped out again. A spectacular sight for you guys. If you have any questions about him, please use the hashtag WildEarth and ask as many as you like. And we would love to answer them. Very curious about us. Isn't that lovely? Oh, bit of a stretch for the neck. Cindy, you say there's still a lot of green left on the trees. There certainly is. It's been a good rainy season. So there's a lot of good greenery. And we're also, like I described before, in this dry riverbed. And because it's a drainage line, any water that is in the area would settle here last before it's totally dried up. So that's why we're seeing lots and lots of greenery. And you can, oh, Ashley, that is an excellent question. You'd like to know, why do giraffes have a black or blue tongue? Their tongue is very strong. And you would know that there's a pigment called melanin. It's what makes our skin dark or light. And melanin also strengthens fibers and strengthens cells. So when you see melanin in feathers of birds, it acts as something that keeps it nice and strong. And there's melanin in the tongue of a giraffe. And that's important because they're constantly plucking leaves off trees that may have thorns. So they don't want to get an injury on that tongue. So it needs to be nice and tough, which is exactly what they need. Well, we're going to, I think, keep on going in this riverbed. It's been good to us. And we'll show you some trees and all of that. So I'm going to keep on going.
So another animal which has got very tough skin is this elephant. So we followed Kumo a little bit further down the hill, and he's pushing his head into some very sharp thorny branches in order to get to some of the grass that's protected at the base of it. You can see he stops every now and again and listens. All this wind is really affecting his hearing. So he has to be extra vigilant that nothing is sneaking up on him. So he's looking straight at us over here. So they've got amazing hearing. Even from that distance there, he can hear my voice, which normally wouldn't be a problem. But because he's so windy, he's a little bit nervous today. So there's a question about how do we know if an elephant is angry? Well, elephants are very capable of showing us if they're not happy. They'll shake their heads and trumpet and stamp their feet and often start pushing down trees and doing all sorts of very obviously unhappy things, which tells any animal or person who is the target of its aggression is that we need to move away, or they need to move away from this elephant. It does not like whatever you're doing. So yeah, trumpeting, lots of head shaking, throwing dirt sometimes, stamping their feet, all sorts of very obvious, just like a person would do, I suppose. If a human being was angry, they might throw a bit of a tantrum, just like elephants do. So he's not showing any anger, but he's definitely alert and vigilant. So he's definitely looking around, listening, stopping for moments, then continuing again. I was hoping to be able to show you how we are able to identify this elephant by a little bit of a scar on his trunk, right between the tips of his tusks. But he's now moved his head a little bit deeper into the bushes. Well, we're going to keep following old Kumo a little bit longer and see what he's up to.
Yes, you're so right, Mike, about tantrums. This little one here that we have come up to, he's being very brave because Mum hasn't reacted. He's come and given us a little bit of a, what do you think you're doing? I'm a big elephant. You should run away from me. It's very cute. He's trying to use his trunk to pick up the grass, and it takes a lot of time. Hello, Cindy. What a great question. You want to know what age young elephants leave their mums? Well, female elephants will stay in the herd for life. Young males can start. Here she comes. Oh, you're so big and scary. Young males can get pushed out when they start reaching sort of pubescence. So 15, 16, 17, they start showing sexual interest in the females, and the females then push them away. But females will stay in in the herd for life. Hello. Elephants have got so many human characteristics. The way they play, the way they throw tantrums, they get upset, they mourn, they get angry, they show so many different things. You can really, really relate to them quite strongly. Just going to move up slightly so that we can see him again, or her. I can actually tell you the sex of this little one. Don't run away. There we go. Ooh, that was frightening. Burger, that is a good question. Elephants will suckle their own calf, but other females within the herd will look after them, just like older siblings will. You'll find a female elephant will have a new calf, and successive female offspring from that herd will look after that calf, pretty much like they would of their own. Just keeping close eye on it, bullying it a little bit as well. But the older females will look after all of the youngsters in the herd, but it's normally the adult of the calf itself that is most responsible, because the calf doesn't normally go too far away from mum. It's normally right there, learning all the tricks of the trade, and every now and again, when they're very comfortable, other youngsters of the same age will play together, but they always return to mum, who's the provider of milk and the big protector. Talking about the big protector, I think this is her over here. And she's busy using her long trunk to feed on the African weeping wattle, which she's going to be pulling it down and feeding on the bark, as we said before. And Joy in Hong Kong, look how she uses those tusks. Another mechanism for the tusks to snap branches. She's now going to turn those branches in her mouth to rip off the bark. I'm just going to keep quiet for a moment so you can hear the noises she's making. That is a really good question. You want to know how far elephants can hear? Initially, scientists weren't sure. Elephants used to communicate, and they weren't sure how they were communicating. Some people have gone so far as to reckon that they can communicate over 25 kilometers through sort of sound waves in the ground. They communicate at a very low frequency called infrasound, which is at about 5 hertz of the hearing spectrum. We hear in the range of sort of 18 to 20, so it's far lower than we are familiar with. So there's communication that's going on that we don't have any idea about. There's also some wonderful stories of how elephants have managed to figure things out very long distance away from other things that have happened, and there's no real explanation for it. She's having a munch, and I can tell you one thing, I broke this plant down yesterday, the weeping wattle, and it is bitter, but very, very good for stomach ailments, for gas and intestinal issues, and I'm pretty sure that's what the elephant is doing it for. They're feeding on the bark specifically this time of year. No doubt there's lots of gas and tummy ailments in the winter, feeding on this hard material. Dylan, elephants get up to 3.5, 4 meters at the shoulder, maybe 4.5. The bull's obviously far bigger than the females, but 4.5 is as big as they get. So it is a very big animal. And I think the record is 10 tons. On average, elephant bulls are about 6. Big bulls, 6,000 kilograms. But I've heard records of up to 10. I don't know when this was done. Are we going to stay here and keep watching our elephants eat? We're not going anywhere. Oh, hello everybody. We are with this beautiful female elephant and we're going to send you over to andBeyond Phinda. We've got something special.
Beyond Phinda and her two little cubs.
Welcome back. Welcome back live to Juma, everybody. We are still with our beautiful elephant, who is the garden service, dismantling this African weeping wattle. I'll move back a bit there for you, BK. Let me just start the car gently. Tell me when. Come all the way around, eh? She's obviously stuck her head all the way in the bushes, trying to hide. Tell me when. There we go. She's trying to hide. What a wonderful scene. This bush has no chance. You can see by the structure of it, it's got some big branches, big stems, and it could be a giant, but the trees out here are influenced by elephants. We saw the bark ripped off of that tree before. Bark's function of a tree is to protect it from dehydration, insect attack and fire. And obviously elephants, by damaging that bark, allow those things to happen. But elephants are regarded as a keystone species, which means that if you took them out of the system would collapse. So they're very, very important. They're integral parts of this ecosystem, and the plants have evolved with them. Let you listen some more to the munching that's going on. Okay, so we're going to probably reposition and maybe see if we can get a look at that little one again.
Well, Ellies seem to be a bit of a theme for today, and I've got for you some elephant dung, which I'm sure, you've just wanted to see your whole life, was some elephant dung. It's completely safe to touch because elephants are herbivores, and they're in these very large, kind of almost like a soccer ball, but I've just broken off a little piece. Now, as we've moved through the seasons, we've had a wet season and a dry season, and in the dry season, the elephant dung gets very, very rough. In the wet season, it's very easy to see that they have digestible material, or as far as they can digest. But here, this is obviously from a drier time, which is at the moment, and you can see lots of undigested material. Look at that. That's a piece completely, almost a whole bit there off a piece of bark. And that's because elephants are hindgut fermenters. The herbivores have two types of systems, you could say. In one system, they have this four-chambered stomach, where they have a rumen and a reticulum abomasum, and they can pass through, and they can get a really nice digestion going. But once they fill up, and that's also the one where they chew the cud, so you'd know that cows do this. You'll be very familiar with animals that do that, and most antelopes do that, but elephants don't, and that's why their dung looks like this. Very, very rough and not well digested at all, and that explains why they need to constantly move around and constantly need to feed themselves.
So we left those large elephant bulls up on the hillside, and we've come down to the small dam called Ndlovu Dam, and it's living up to its name. Ndlovu means elephant in Shangaan, and we've got 3 young bulls that are busy drinking at the waterhole. That's actually wonderful. We had a suspicion. Look at their frozen look. They thought they heard a noise, and that one has just stopped. They've all just stopped with their tusks and trunks exactly where they were. Oh, no, continue. So they do that sometimes when they hear something, they'll just freeze. Finn is asking if humans are the only predators to elephants. And Finn, technically speaking, yes. We're not really the predators of elephants, but yes, we are enemies to the elephants if we are hunters, let's say, for example. Or predators, you can call them predators, I suppose. But in nature, I suppose young elephants can be caught and killed by lions, large prides of lions. In fact, in some parts of Africa, like Botswana, definitely you'll find there are lion prides that specialize in young elephants that are alone, and even hyenas. If there's a young elephant that's vulnerable, they might attack and try and kill it, but only if there's situations that are really, really desperate, because there are much animals that are much easier. An elephant, even a small one, is a very dangerous prey for another animal. So certainly in normal circumstances, yes. Other animals like lions don't really hunt elephants. And these elephants we're seeing now are bulls, very strong, healthy bulls, and so they would not be there's no predators to them naturally. They are far too strong and well protected. See, those tusks are very, very sharp. They can use those very, very well to defend themselves. And they've got big feet and strong bodies. I mean, they can push over huge trees with ease sometimes. So you can imagine a small animal like a lion wouldn't stand much of a chance. These elephants look very relaxed. Nothing is trying to hunt them at the moment. And you can see they are busy drinking from the waterhole. The water's not the cleanest, right? And so you'll see every now and again the elephants reach out as far as they can away from the edge, and they'll literally tipple the water with the tip of their tongue. That one looks like it's resting its trunk on its tusk there. Now we're going to watch these elephants a little longer and see what they get up to at this waterhole. If we're lucky, they might even go for a swim.
Well, it seems to have been an elephantastic afternoon, and we are here once again with our little one. Now, just testament to what I was talking about before, everybody, is if you got a baby out in the open like this, there's no way that the herd is upset. You wouldn't see a baby out on its own if the herd was upset or relaxed, so you can watch them peacefully. Sophie, you want to know why elephants are wrinkled? That's a very good question, Sophie. They've got very thick skin, and I don't know why it's wrinkled, but the face isn't too wrinkled. The nose is wrinkled, so the head isn't too wrinkled. The trunk has lots of squishy, movable material, so it needs to be very wrinkly. But the body itself is very small but sharp hairs on the body that you can't see. If you go up close to an elephant and you touch them, it's very rough. But why it's wrinkled, I don't know. He's going to come and shout at us again. That is an elephant telling you he's not happy with life. If a big female does that to you, you need to take heedance. But little youngster, let me just move forward a touch, BK. A little youngster does that, they're just throwing a little tantrum. They know that it's supposed to be scary, and when he's big it's going to be scary. But right now it's just hilarious. Yes, we know. You told us. Sophie, I think they do. I think elephants do have besties. You'll find them in a herd. Oh, getting a bit of a bum scratch there. How wonderful. You'll find them in a herd with small little youngsters, and you'll notice sometimes 2 of the youngsters will play with each other a lot, pushing and shoving, and there's always a bigger one that comes along and disrupts the whole thing, just like you would in normal human society, where you get a bigger elephant coming and pushing them around. But you do generally find that they like to play. They're very, very playful. especially when they're very young, because they don't have to actually feed on anything. They just suckle from mum when they get hungry, and the rest of the time is about social coordination, social understanding, because there's a lot to being an elephant. There's a lot that goes on in the social dynamics, and all the time they are learning. So they learn from each other through play, and they learn by doing with mum. And we're going to get another one. That is the classic elephant warning signal of the head up and the tail stiff at the back. They look down their nose, you see, like you can imagine an old person looking down their nose with their glasses. You've seen that before? When you walk into the library and the librarian says yes, she looks down her nose at you. That is what elephants do. They look down. That is their eyesight. Let's quickly move back. Okay, one more just before the end of the show. Let's get one more little look at our elephant here. He's been such a marvelous little fellow. Oh, don't run away. Oh, he's running. He's running. We do thank you, everybody. We hope you've enjoyed this elephantastic afternoon. We've thoroughly enjoyed bringing it to you. We'll be again live with you from our wonderful locations tomorrow. Have a wonderful day further. Feel free to join us on YouTube. We'll be continuing on. Till then, catch you later. Good day and goodbye. Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, where I am Steve, of course, joined by BK, and well, we're having a wonderful time with this little elephant. Shall we go and have another look? I think we shall. He's being very funny and very excited. Please, if you have any questions, we are on all the platforms, #WildEarth, YouTube, as well as Twitch. Here he comes again. BK, are you ready? I just love it. I love it. I love it when these little elephants throw a tantrum. Come on, little fellow. It's like, but why are they not running away? It works when mum does it. Okay, well, he's going to back away further and further and further, and we're going to stay right with him.
Okay. So you come back to me. How cute! How adorable. There's nothing like a big, strong Ellie that's about 2 years old that wants to charge you, is there? Very sweet. Hello, everyone. It's me, Trishala, but you knew that. And it's Niels on a camera this afternoon. Still very windy, as you can see, but at least the sun is out, so that's amazing. Now, these starlings have been playing games with me, much like Steve's Ellies, except they haven't been charging me. But they've definitely given me a look. A pair of Burchell's starlings sifting their way through a rhino midden to find some juicy treats. Ooh. I love how they use their beak as an extra appendage to move things around, sort of in a similar way as an elephant uses a trunk. In that it's an extra bit of dexterity. Their heads are flexible, and their beaks are an extension of the premaxillae. So it's part of the jaw that has become fused and grown into this beak. In fact, that part of the jaw you see in reptiles, it's right at the very tip of the upper jaw. And you see it in reptiles. And in fact, if you manipulate genes for birds that during embryonic stages that have to do with facial structure. Their beaks won't develop at all, and they end up having a reptilian-like face.
Afternoon stations.
Afternoon, Steve. And I think that's really, really, really awesome. Just it gives you an understanding a little bit of the way that things are related and how you can change this or do that, and all of a sudden you end up with an animal that looks very similar to something else you know. In the case of birds and the manipulation of that gene, it can look quite reptilian. Nice. Well, I'm going to make my way to Buffelshoek Dam. Hopefully there'll be some surprises waiting there for us.
Welcome back, everybody, to andBeyond Phinda. So good to have all of you on the internet watching us. Once again, my name is Damon, and we've got Marcel behind camera. And we unfortunately were not able to keep up with that female cheetah. There was just no signal there. So we've come out to see what else we can find. And just behind me, there's a group of white rhinos. You might be able to just see their rear ends disappearing into the grass. There's a sub-adult there. See how it's got its tail curled up over its back? And that's a bit of body language that tells us that this rhino is excited or nervous. And look at how far, I know it's tough to see now, but it's keeping very far behind the first rhino. And that first rhino has got a very small little calf with it. And I think that maybe it's been a bit aggressive towards this sub-adult. Perhaps this is that big rhino's previous calf, and she's chased it away, now having to take care of this new youngster. And this other one is feeling a bit hard done, saying, "But I'm also your offspring, please don't leave me." But there it wanders off into the bush there. We're gonna see if we can try and get another view of those rhinos. It'll be really fantastic if we can get to see that small little calf. So this little road up there, I'll take us around there, see if we can get another view. She's just gone up this hillside here, and we should be able to get a view of her pretty soon. Where are you, rhino? It's amazing how such a big animal can just vanish. But there is luckily another road going up the hill here. And again, the wind is really, really strong and quite chilly as well. So I think that this mother rhino and her youngster are trying to head into some cover to get out the wind. Lisa, you're asking if it's normal for a white rhino not to take care of its offspring. Lisa, so what I meant was that bigger rhino was perhaps that rhino mother's previous offspring. And when a rhino cow is about to have a new calf, she'll kind of chase her older offspring away. And by that stage, they'll be at an age where they're able to kind of fend for themselves. So it's not that she's not looking after it, it's just that she's kind of done with the investment in that previous calf, and that it's time for her to invest her full energy into looking after the new calf. And I think that might be what's going on here. And often, oh, here they are, they're right here, here they are. You can just see their ears above the grass. Oh, that was very lucky. Just see those ears sticking up out of the long grass. And there's the sub-adult. So Lisa, it's not that she's not looking after her offspring. It's just that it's, so to speak, time for this rhino to go off on its own and make its own way in the world. She has a new little one to look after. And often calves like this that have been pushed away from their mothers will go and find another rhino cow, often with a similarly aged calf, or a calf that's getting to the age where it's going to be pushed away soon. And then it will just have, it's just for some company. And because it won't be suckling, then it won't be competing for milk with the rhino cow's current offspring. And it's just a way for it to have some company. But there it goes off into the thickets, I think to try and get some respite from the wind. We're going to try and reposition, see if we can get maybe another view of these rhinos.
So, sorry everyone, we're just repositioning ourselves as well. We have found a beautiful, fabulous, very dark male giraffe. Now this giraffe is much darker than usual, and I'm not really sure why. It could be an increase in testosterone, could be a whole bunch of different things, but he's very, very beautiful. I don't know if you can see that, almost sable in color. Sable is another antelope which is very, very dark, just like these dark patches on this southern giraffe. Such great contrast. This is a male giraffe in his absolute prime. Massive, smooth, muscled neck, tall, very, very broad horns or ossicones. You can see one is slightly shorter than the other, maybe from all the fighting that he does. You can even see that huge hump on its forehead. That's bones that are busy fusing together to make its head and brain more protected from the impact of when they fight. Absolutely wonderful. It's nice to see him. This giraffe is always around our camp, and he's not always so gracious to us to show us his beautiful colors out in this nice open environment. Ooh, Noah has asked a question about how many giraffe are left in the wild. Well, Noah, there are a lot of giraffe left in the wild. They are quite endangered. Now, we often find that giraffe numbers are dropping in many places. And in fact, southern giraffe is in a fairly good position, but many other giraffes. I'm going to try and reposition us to try and see if we can get a slightly better view, because the giraffe is going right exactly behind us. So, 1 second. So, Noah, they are endangered. The numbers are dropping rapidly, in fact. So, we have to do everything we can to protect them. But this giraffe is a great indication to us that the population might be quite healthy in this area, because he is a strong, virile male. Probably has a lot of breeding success with the females, being so dark in color. You know, tall, dark, and handsome is a popular phrase, and I'm sure he is very popular with the ladies as well. So, Noah, in other parts of Africa, there are different types of giraffe that are very, very endangered. But the southern giraffe is doing fairly well. So this is a southern giraffe. I'm not sure how many different species there are. I always forget, but there's a whole bunch. But about 7 or 8 different species. Another question about how tall giraffes can grow. Oh, there's a female there as well. That's awesome. How tall can giraffes grow? Well, a female giraffe, the one on the left there, would probably grow to about 4.5 meters. A male giraffe, like the very dark, beautiful male that we're watching, might grow up to about 5.5 meters, which is incredibly tall. And when you think about 5.5 meters, is 3 very tall people standing on each other's shoulders. That's how tall it is. Imagine that, 3 very tall people standing on each other's shoulders. That's how tall a very big giraffe can get. So now you can see, even though he's got those fabulous, distinct colors, behind these sparse bushes and sticks, he hides very, very, very well. We might try and see if we can reposition. And whoa, he's on the move. What's he going to do? Where are you going to go? There goes the female. So you can see she's much lighter in color, very brown, also very pretty pattern, but he's much darker. So they often say that the darkness of a giraffe is due in part to higher testosterone levels. It looks like he's feeding on a small branch. I'm going to try and move us again just to see if we can get him in frame, because he is so lovely, and we don't often get to show you these giraffes with such colors. What do you think, Gerrit? Must I go back or go a bit forward? Okay, a little bit more. There you go. Gorgeous. So there he is. So now you can see him once again. So yeah, so you can see this male giraffe feeds at the very, very top of the bushes and trees, because he's very, very tall. There's no point him trying to stoop down to feed on anything that's lower, whereas the females will often feed on branches much lower. They'll actually stoop their heads right down because they don't need to compete with the height of these males. 5.5 meters, amazing. Get Paranoid is asking what type of predators attack giraffes. Now, giraffes don't need to be paranoid about many things, but definitely lions in some areas do hunt giraffes, and they actually hunt them very, very successfully. They'll often chase the tall giraffes over very rocky or uneven terrain, and what will happen is the giraffes lose their footing and end up falling over, and when they fall over, they are very vulnerable. Imagine this tall animal trying to get up. It takes a long time. So lions will often chase giraffes once they've learnt over rocky terrain or very steep hillsides, or even through sandy riverbeds. And then the lions have the upper hand because the giraffe's footing might slip. And if they fall over, the lion just needs to pounce and hold onto the neck. And even though a lion is much smaller than a giraffe, once it's got the neck of the giraffe, it becomes almost impossible for that giraffe to stand up. I've actually seen many giraffes being fed on by large prides of lions. In certain areas, they seem to specialize in them. Oh, I think there's an oxpecker that's bothering that giraffe. They can be quite tolerant most of the time, but if the oxpeckers get a little bit too aggressive, they'll often try and chase them off. See how bright and white the back of its ears are, especially in contrast to those dark patches on its body. I wonder if that has a communication effect. You know, they stand up very tall, and then over the trees, any other giraffes can spot their ears and see maybe some signals, or just follow them. I wonder if that's how this male found those females. Well, he's pretending not to be interested, but I'm sure he is. Julianne, who's 4 years old, is wondering why giraffes shake their tails when they walk. Well, Julianne, there's a lot of biting insects. There's horseflies and tsetse flies and mosquitoes and ticks and fleas and all sorts of things that bite the giraffes in order to suck on their blood, which is their meal. And giraffes don't like that. I mean, I don't think I would like anything trying to bite me on my bum. So they swish their tails quite a lot in order to chase away those biting insects and keep them off. Because although the back of the giraffe is covered in fur and is quite tough, the skin, because of all the fighting that they do, the parts behind the tail, under the tail, and inside of the legs probably very, very soft and don't have that much fur on them. So you can imagine that would be the place where all the flies would like to go and bite the giraffe, right on its bum. So it flaps its tail with that long, dark hair, just like that, in order to keep them away. It almost looks quite lazy. It's like a fly switch. My goodness, Laurie's asking if giraffes get post-nasal drip. Well, you know that the ears, the nose, and the throat is all connected on our bodies, and it's much the same with the giraffe. So if they did, it would have to be very, very uncomfortable. Imagine having a cold morning and having to sniff all the time if you're a giraffe. Ugh, swallowing all that saliva all the time. Yuck. It would be quite uncomfortable. Laurie, I wonder that as well. Well, whilst we wonder that, whilst we ponder, we'll watch what these giraffes do.
We've managed to catch up with our rhinos, everybody. Now, just with it being quite windy, often rhinos tend to be a little bit kind of nervous, just with the wind swirling all around them. We've spoken quite a couple of times about how they depend very much on those big ears of theirs. Look at those big ears, and of course, if she does lift her head a bit more, we might be able to see her nostrils. Very big nostrils and then very small eyes. So easy to see that it's her hearing and her sense of smell that she will depend on most in terms of sensing her surroundings. And with the wind, it'll be wafting smells all over the place, and there'll be lots of noise, the sounds of the wind rustling through the grass. So often rhinos can be a little bit nervous in the wind. So we're not going to try and move around too much. So we'll just enjoy the view we have currently. But there's the big female on the left, and we just had a better view of that calf. It is very small, everybody. It's very, very, very cute. It looks like its back just barely comes up to the underside of its mother's tummy. And so because of that size, we can estimate that it's maybe a little over 3 months old. And quite unusual that this sub-adult is actually so close to her. I don't know if you can see it just off to the right, with its head currently behind that dead tree. Very strange indeed that this mother rhino is not behaving more aggressively towards the sub-adult. They are still slowly moving. The mother's going to come in front of us, everybody. I'm just going to duck down so you can see her. The problem is the grass is so long we can't see. Oh, there's a little calf behind her. I don't know if you can see it. How cute is that, everybody? It's a tiny little rhino. Sticking close to mom. They might cross the road, everyone. Let's sit tight here for a second. Again, I'm going to duck down as much as I can. Look at that little thing. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. It's absolutely tiny. Here it comes. Look how cute that little thing is, coming into the road all by itself, leading its mother. Laurie, you're asking if the previous calf will be friends with this one. Laurie, it's unlikely to have much to do with this young calf. I think, if not now, soon, it's probably going to be pushed away by the bigger cow. But certainly they may coexist, and depending on the gender, it looks like this. Oh, I didn't get a good look there, but it looked like the older calf was maybe a male. I didn't quite see the younger calf though. But Laurie, they may peacefully coexist later on in life, once that other little calf has grown up. But how fantastic was that? Yes, patience paid off there, and we got to see that little one coming out across the road. Let's maybe try and creep forward just nice and slowly, see if we can get one more view of those rhinos. But that was really special, seeing that tiny little rhino calf running across the road in front of mom. And did you see how it led its mother across the road? Its mother followed along behind it, and that's not 100% of the time, but quite typical of white rhino calves. So because white rhinos, because they feed on grass and they tend to live in slightly more open areas, the calf will often move in front of the mother, and she'll often kind of steer it as they move along. With the black rhino though, in stark contrast, because they live in much thicker bush, and the mother often has to kind of barge a hole through the bush as they run, the calf will kind of slipstream behind its mother. And that's, like I said, it's not 100% of the time, but one of the behavioral differences between the two species. Amanda, you're asking what predators might attack rhinos. Amanda, with them being so big, there's not really much that will hunt them with any kind of regularity. But often big prides of lions will try and hunt rhinos. Hyenas will as well, but it's normally under very unusual circumstances. So if the rhino is very weak, maybe it's very old or sick. If it's during the drought, the rhino may be nutritionally stressed, maybe quite skinny and quite weak, and a big pride of lions or a big clan of hyenas might take advantage of it. Another time when they are also quite vulnerable is, we've spoken now about the sub-adult that's tailing this older cow. When they get pushed away from their mother, if they're not able to find another cow and her calf to kind of attached to their group, they can often be quite vulnerable to attack by lions and by hyenas. We've seen it here on andBeyond Phinda, where a sub-adult rhino was found with lions feeding on it. We're not sure if it was killed by the lions or if it died of some kind of disease. It's possible that it was caught by the pride of lions in the night, and with it being still quite young and not having an adult nearby, it got taken down. There's also happened once at andBeyond in Ngala, funny enough, where some of the guides there actually watched a clan of hyenas take down a sub-adult rhino, also probably under similar circumstances. And if I do remember correctly, that rhino was also quite sick, or didn't seem to be just quite right. Right. Let's try and get to the spot where they cross the road and see if we can get one more view of these rhinos. Okay, let's creep along nice and slowly. There's a bit of a game path here. Angie, you're asking a very important question. You're asking at what age do we start to dehorn the rhinos, and then how often thereafter? Yeah, they are. Oh, look at that. out in the sunlight, everybody. Angie, I'll get to your question now. You're asking how old the rhino will have to be before we can dehorn it, and then how often thereafter. Angie, normally when they go independent from their mother, so normally at about 2.5 years, sometimes even as late as 3 years is when normally 2 to 2.5 years is when they'll leave their mother, but it's normally between 2 and 3 years that we'll dehorn them for the first time. And thereafter, because the horn is made of keratin, so the same substance as your fingernails, and it grows a bit like our fingernails do. It grows from a horn bed, just like our fingernails grow from a nail bed, and it grows constantly. So we'll have to, it's normally about 10 centimeters a year that it grows back. So normally every 1.5 years, we'll have to dehorn the rhinos again. So this little youngster on the left hasn't been dehorned just yet. The mother on the right, looks like she was dehorned relatively recently, but I think we probably won't do it now while the calf is still so small. But fantastic, how amazing was that to get to see that little calf crossing the road? Super, super special.
A very special moment indeed. It sounded amazing. Rebecca was very excited over the radio. Just like I'm sure that this male here will get excited towards the end of the year when he gets to see his little lambs. Or actually not, because he has no parental investment at all when it comes to those lambs. Well, isn't it sad when even the impalas start to move off the property? The mayor of space. Good day to you, sir. You'd like to know which animal has the cutest baby. That is an unanswerable question, and I shall take no part in choosing one baby animal over another simply because I can't. It's one thing to ask me to choose a favorite in general. It's another to ask me to choose a favorite amongst babies. Could not. Absolutely cannot. All of them. All of them. Have you seen a baby tiger? Oh my goodness. Tiger, hippo, little zebras, little mongoose, little mice even. They're all too special. Baby elephant, baby buffalo, baby cow, puppies. Puppies are way up there on the list for me. Both wild dog puppies and domestic dog pups. Kittens. Baby chameleon. Someone sent me a video of chameleons being born. I thought it was just too adorable. How Mayor of Space, can you expect me to choose? It's just too much going on. And there's some science behind that, by the way, as it is with me all the time. There's always some science behind a very innocent, normal feeling. Cuteness. We're programmed to find things cute, because if we don't find things cute, and there's particular features that indicate cute to us, basically chubby and wide-eyed, big eyes, looks very, very cute to us. And it looks that way because we need to be able to find our own offspring cute. Otherwise, we may not be inclined to take care of it. And those common features stretch across all of the mammals, basically. And that's how we end up feeling that all these little babies are absolutely adorable. I certainly do. I wonder if there are any strange looking ones. I will think about it. But yeah, big eyes and chubby really does it for us biologically. I've been feeling owly the last few days. As in, I'd like to see an owl, not like I was feeling as if I was an owl. And I hope that today will be the day. I've been hearing some pearl-spotted owlets, so maybe as the darkness descends upon us, we could be lucky.
Thanks, Trish. We found some friends. Hello, fellas. Little troop of baboons. Coming from Baboon Pan, how's that? They've gone into Juma though. See if we can try and get another look. You generally can't get too close to baboon and monkey unless they're very elevated. Monkeys like to go up trees, baboons run away. See if we can get another look of them. We give them space and everything's generally alright. I do enjoy spending time with baboons. Like elephants, baboons are always doing something. Oh, maybe we'll catch up to baboons in a moment. Maybe they're going to come and drink. There's a wonderful scene there of some giraffe by the water. So giraffe coming down to drink is always a special occasion. It's often quite tentative and slow. They deliberately make their way down. It's a very sort of awkward action for them to do. Oh, hang on. It's a male and female. Another awkward action. I'll tell you now why I know it's a male and female. Or maybe it's not. Before I jump the gun, let's just have a look. Yes, it is. Male and female. I actually thought a moment ago that his body was pressed towards hers, and it's often what they'll do if the female's in estrus, the male will follow her around till he gets to mate, and often he'll just push up behind her and until she allows him to mount. Cindy, you want to know what's causing decline of giraffe population? It's probably most likely linked to habitat loss. Large areas that were once rich and diverse in many mammal species are being lost to all sorts of human influence. And so range loss is definitely one of the biggest decreases in many animal species. In fact, any rare and endangered animal that you see today, you can attribute their decline to the loss of preferred habitat. I mean, giraffe are big animals, and they require quite a decent home range to be able to survive. Obviously, there's plenty of giraffe in South Africa, but it's other places around Africa that their numbers are dwindling. If you destroy a woodland area and you replace it with a crop, for example, that habitat is gone. You're not going to see the giraffe walking in and eating your corn. The trees that they need for survival. Huge amount of Africa is still very rural, relying on wood for burning, for fuel. So trees are also being lost, and with them their browsers. Oh, there we go, he's going to say hello. Oh, he's not. There's actually two boys. I was completely wrong a moment ago. The way the one on the right was standing is his ossicones looked a little bit smaller. So I do apologize, everybody, for getting it wrong. I'm sure he doesn't mind. He's got such elegant eyelashes. But they're both coming to drink. This is going to be splendid. Angie, that's a good question. I'm not actually sure exactly how long it starts for the ossicones to fuse to the head. They always look a little bit floppy at the beginning. The ossicones on the head, everybody, giraffe are born with those ossicones, but they're not fused, so they're flat. And so obviously that would make leaving the birth canal quite difficult if you had those extra protrusions on the head. And slowly what starts happening is that ossicone starts to fuse to the skull, ossifies to the skull. So it's essentially gluing itself in place, or it is essentially the bone forming around it, which solidifies it. So it probably takes quite some time, probably takes a few years to truly be ossified. As we know, bone is a very slow production in bone. But I'm really not sure. That's a good question. But they only really need them if they're a male, when they get to this fellow's size on the right. So plenty of time, at least 20 years minimum, before he's going to really need his ossicones. You see that he said to his friend, "You watch that way, I'll drink this side." The giraffe obviously makes themselves a little bit vulnerable coming down to the water to drink. They do need to drink, although they will get a lot of their moisture from the vegetation. So we're just going to keep quiet and watch this process unfold. Joy in Hong Kong, that's a good question. Who knows? You don't always see them neck. Male giraffe will play from time to time, especially when there's a young one. They'll do some practice, but when there's a female in estrus, two male giraffe will come together and they'll be very physical with each other immediately. And the winner of that will obviously have the mating rights. But to get to that stage requires a fair amount of practice, so you can't fight full on every day. But you need to build up that technique, that stamina, and that physical ability. Such splendid scenes. Water is the currency of life. Having such a long neck makes the process of drinking rather awkward. So we're going to stay here. Hopefully the thirst overwhelms these two and they bow down to have a drink.
Good afternoon. I'm really glad you're with us again at Tswalu Kalahari and Genre and Dylan. It's fantastic having you with us, and I'm sorry we're a little bit delayed. We had some challenges here with our Wi-Fi signal, but all good, all up and running. Genre and I have spent the afternoon in the meantime trying to follow up on a lioness with tiny little cubs. We know where the cubs are stashed. We followed the tracks into a block, but just discretion's better part of valor, because the mother's tracks went out, so we just didn't push it. So we actually didn't have a visual, but we know the area that they're in. There's absolutely no reason to go and poke your nose in there. But then we just carried on following line, and there's lion tracks up and down and up and down. And as always, Genre comes to the rescue, because climbing out, we're having a look for these lions, and saying, no, there's some going in there, there's some coming out here, they're backing around, up and down. Then Genre very calmly says, oh, there's the lions. And somewhere inside there, you can actually just get a glimpse there. I'm not sure how. Genre, you got it? There we go. Okay, so that's we're not close to those cats. They're still like another 130, 140 yards away from the vehicle. But how cool is that? And look at that camouflage. Eh? That was like completely good spotting on Genre's part. Yeah, not just a pretty face, eh? That's why we keep him around. I need him on my game drive vehicle to actually find the things for me. But that was a great afternoon that we've had, the two of us, just like following lion tracks up and down, and it's males and females and cub tracks, and that's, yes, I love doing that. And whether you actually find the things or not is a different matter, but it's just fun doing it. And the thing that I really enjoy about it is, while you're out following a set of tracks, you're actually starting to see all other little things as well, your little insect things, mice tracks over them, or birds, or wind-blown, tracks from leaves that have been blown by the wind. So you start like building up this whole image of the environment. So tracking is really, really fun. But anyway, if you're keen for it, we can go have a look at those cats. I think that'll be just something. And I know someone was asking yesterday that they haven't seen the lions for a little while, so Jason asked, how fast can a lion run? A lot faster than I can run. But yeah, they'll cover, they'll 50 kilometers an hour plus easily, even up to 60, between 50 and 60 k's an hour, but for a short burst. Remember, lions don't need to be running over long distances. They're not like wild dogs or wolves that'll be coursing after animals. People asking, how fast would that lion get to me? No, that's far. That's the time that'll literally, when I was in front of the vehicle, I was 8 yards in front of the vehicle over here, and over here, now I'm like 2 yards from my door. Unless there's a lion lying right behind this bush that we haven't seen. And then while I'm talking, Genre probably hasn't said a word. He's like, go. It's like, no. So yeah, there's, I've got good, and they also lying down. They're not even looking at us at the moment. So I'm really keen to show you those cubs, but I doubt whether it's going to be this afternoon. There is a single set of tracks that has come out from this block and heading back that way in the direction of the cubs. So we'll go back there later, and maybe we'll be lucky and find those for you.
Welcome back. Thanks, Dylan. It's always nice finding cubs. That special feeling. I don't know many of you out there actually truly, I know you spend a lot of time with us on the show, but truly understand the feeling when you track down a predator and you find their babies for the first time. It is next level, actually. So I know that feeling well. Our boys have moved around a little bit, get a little bit better angle of the light. Here we go. Very long way down. The oxpecker is giving him a hard time. Sorry, sir. Catherine, that's exactly it. They can bend their knees when they walk, but I think it's actually a weight point of view. So if the giraffe leant forward with their knees bent, I think they'd actually fall over. To be honest with you, that weight, the distribution of the shoulders and the head, there's so much weight there that, there we go. You can see they're slightly bent. They actually need to be forward, otherwise the animal falls over. And they don't get up very easily. Now, they can only do that for a few moments. The blood from the body, very high pressure, starts to pump into the brain of the giraffe. And you would think that by doing that there'd be an enormous head rush. But the giraffe's got a very well adapted sort of network of veins, coming in from the back, from the heart, the aorta pushing up into the brain. And it basically pushes the blood into a very fine network of vein or arteries, very fine, almost like a sponge. So by pushing it in there, it slowly pushes blood into the brain, especially when the brain is lower than the heart. And then when it stands up, that same system slowly releases the blood. So it's not you've all experienced a head rush before when you stand up too quickly. A giraffe, with the amount of pressure that is moving through that blood system and to the brain, the head rush would be unbelievable and they would collapse. Obviously, that's not a big advantage if you want to survive. So they can only do it for a certain period of time before they have to flick back up again. Very well designed system. And they've decided maybe we should just eat these leaves. They look nice and juicy. The lions were here yesterday, so the tracks were all around where the giraffe are walking. So there's probably a residual smell that they're picking up on. They don't want to get caught. And the wind as well is not being very nice to them, so they're quite cautious. And so far, still 15 minutes, no necking. So other things on the mind. It's all about what's going on. Do we want to fight now, play now, drink now, or eat? Or mate, or sleep? What driver is overwhelming the rest? That tall neck allows these animals to feed very high in the tree, deep into the bush as well. It doesn't benefit them when it comes to drinking. Hello, Sharon. Well, generally, big males, the older they get, the darker they get. That's the general sort of idea. But it's not always the case. You don't always find big males very, very dark. But it generally seems to be the case. So there's definitely some genetics involved, some probably hereditary ability that's been passed on, or trait. Some elephants to the south of us that might be coming here shortly. But the darkness is basically to do with melanin in the fur and the skin, which obviously protects it against the sun. And the older they get, the more weather-ridden they become. So the darker they become, the more protected they are against the heat.
So we've found some fabulous little birds. These are called Crested francolin, and they are very cute. Of all the ground francolin spurfowl-alike birds, I think these are the most colourful, common ones that we can see. There are others that are less common that are more colorful. But look at these cute things as they scratch around, looking for seeds and insects and all sorts of little nibblies as they search. Now, they are quite small, and look how well camouflaged they are. When they turn their backs to us, they blend so well into all this dry vegetation. See that they're busy plucking out little bits of seed, I'm sure, that are hidden in the grasses. Now, it's called a crested francolin because of that dark crest on top of its head. Here's another one crossing the road. Why did the francolin cross the road? To join his friends, I suppose. Now look at that beautiful white eyebrow. Now you see the crest very nicely. The crest is held down right now, but if they're alarmed or if they're making a lot of noise, you'll see the crest rises right up. Now there's a whole load of them here. This is one big family, so it'll be a... so the one walking in the middle there is an adult, and all the others are younger, because you see that it's much smaller. So this is a whole covey of little crested francolin. It's actually amazing to see so many. They don't always last this long. Unfortunately, they have a lot of predators. So they don't often make it to this age. This is fantastic. Linda, they are the chickens of the bush. They are the bush chickens, for sure. I mean, they're much more colourful than the chickens we get at home. Bantams, I don't know if anyone's ever had bantams at home. I think these are like bantams. I remember I had a few when I was growing up, or at least a friend of mine had some. And they were very colourful, cute little things. Very much like these things. I would love to have some at home scratching around all day long. Very cute. See how they cock their tail up like that? That's quite specific to crested francolin. Most other francolin don't do that. And spur fowls certainly don't. And they're much smaller and more colourful than the spur fowls. And they don't have the big spurs on the back of the feet, which gives the spur fowl the name. The males do. See that one over there walking at the back? It definitely does have spurs, but they're not quite as big and pronounced as they are on the spur fowls. And they use the spurs for fighting. When they are attacking each other, they really do like ninja jumps. Aisha's asking why heads bob their birds. Why birds bob their heads when they walk. That's quite an interesting one. I suppose it's so that their head doesn't move constantly. So they have this moment where their head is still. There's the cresters up there. Actually, it's so weird. I suppose it's so that their heads can be still for at least a moment, so they can spot if there's something walking next to them, like a little insect or something. So you can imagine when it moves forward, then the body catches up, and then it moves the head forward, then the body catches up again. So I suppose that's probably why, just so that when that head is stationary for that moment, it can spot a moving prey like a grasshopper or something, and quickly shoot down and grab it, or something like that. You'll often see, if you see kingfishers or other birds on branches that are moving, you'll see the head stays exactly still, and the body might be moving around because of the branches moving or the wind or whatever, but the head stays exactly still. So they've got great eyesight, and they want to use that to maximum effect by keeping their head still so that they can pinpoint on their target. Now, all these little francolins have moved into the grass, so they're a little bit difficult to see now, but you can imagine why this particular group is doing so well. Is because look at that golden grass behind us and how perfectly they must be blending into the environment. It's good to see. And the reason why we stopped is actually for something completely different. It was a tree that we wanted to talk about, but it's so rare that you get to see the crested francolin so close to the car and so relaxed like that. So we thought, why not just give it a go? And there are many other francolin species that we do see, but this one is definitely the most pretty, I think. There's another one that I wanted to actually show you. I'm not sure if we're allowed to do it, but I want to show you anyway, is the coqui francolin. So this is the other bird, which is much less common, but really, really pretty and beautiful. See, look at that orange head. So the coqui francolin is one that we don't get to see too often, but it does occur here. But look at that, eh? Oh. I don't know if they occur here at Pridelands. I haven't seen one yet or heard one. I know that at Ngala they are one of the special birds that we often used to try and see. So very, very pretty little bird. It's another one of the francolins, but much, much less often seen. And the call just goes cookie, 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 cookie. So that's the call. Very cute. Nice. And the crested francolin's call is nowhere near as cute and pretty, but some people say they often wake them up in the morning, the crested francolin. So it's got this call that sort of sounds like irritate, irritate, irritate. I'll actually play it for you. I don't know if any of you have heard the crested francolin's call before. I'll just play it now for you. Irritate. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't sound like that. I don't know. I think it sounds like that. Or it says beer and cognac, depending on which you prefer. It's a beautiful scene here in the African bush. Don't you just love this golden color as it lights up these trees here? What a phenomenal afternoon. I'm having such a great time. I hope you are as well.
Oh, I can't believe what we just missed. I cannot believe what we just missed. Yes, that was blindsided of note. So we're sitting watching these lions fast asleep. They are just not doing anything. Next thing, literally, it was probably 2 seconds before we came live here. The steenbok comes barreling out the bush, maybe not even 10 yards to the left of where these lions are lying, like straight towards the vehicle here. Immediately, and then it just did like a dog's leg at 90 degrees and disappeared. That was just so fast, and just, I have no idea what was going on there, but it's like, wow. Okay, I'm like just at a loss for words there. I mean, that's just incredible to see that. But that steenbok's lucky. You can see these, so these are, there's a yawn, yeah. So these are 2 young males, 2 youngsters. And you can actually see, well, Chandra, I don't know how close you can get into them, but you'll actually see there's a lot of pink around those mane tufts and the jowls. So they've caught something not too long ago. They haven't even got around to cleaning themselves yet. So they probably caught something last night, I'd say. I have no idea what it is, or where it is, or who it was. But clearly it's a tough life out here. Look at that. And you can see that's an adult lioness at the back. And then the one like Parsi says, lucky for that critter. And yeah, I've seen lions catch steenbok before, but they have to be quick on the ball. Those little antelope duck and dive like nothing, and they're super, super, super fast. And especially the fact that steenbok was already running full tilt. And by the time it got parallel with these lions, I think the lions wouldn't have caught up with it. But it was just like, it took Chandra and myself completely by surprise. But I think the lesson there is you never know what to expect. You can be sitting with sleeping lions and just suddenly it's action. So while we're sitting with these lions, there are some food items in this picture. I hope they're still in the picture. Yeah, there they are. There we go. And those may or may not be a new species for some of you. Those are Hartmann's mountain zebra. Hartmann's mountain zebra. So from where we're sitting to where those zebra are, to give you some idea, that's about 1 kilometer, give or take. You know, I'm out by a couple 100 meters, I don't know. But yeah, so those lions ain't going to be going after those zebra anytime soon. But those zebra normally come down off the hills and they'll drink in the evenings, late afternoon, going into the evening. And that's when we've seen lions catching mountain zebra before. So that is certainly on the menu. And even from this distance, sorry, Chandra, but even from that distance, you may have noted how white the bellies were on those zebra. And that's one of the distinguishing features of mountain zebra. They're beautiful. Thank you, Chandra. That's one of the distinguishing features of mountain zebra compared to plain zebra, that the stripes extend right underneath the belly on the plain zebra.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. We have been traveling around trying to find something in signal to show to you. We went past the area where that mother cheetah was, and she still looks okay with her youngsters. Looks like they're settling down for the night. Unfortunately, there's still no signal there for us, but we have managed to find these 2 young male lions up on this rocky perch, looking very, very interested in something down in the valley below. I can't quite see what that is just yet. But is this not just spectacular? surveying their surroundings from the top of that rocky outcrop. Karishma, you're asking which pride these young lions belong to. Karishma, based on the area where we're in currently, so the far southwest of the reserve, and then also just having a closer look at these lions, they are two of the sub-adults of the Bayala pride. For those of you who've been following along for the last few weeks, you'll know that within this pride there are 5 young male lions, all very similarly aged. There's these 2 slightly older ones. See how they're starting to get that quite prominent mane on their cheeks and on their throat. And then the other 3 are about 2 or 3 months younger. And at this age, there's still a noticeable size difference between the 2 groups, but as they get older, that size difference is going to become less and less noticeable. Oh, here comes a yawn. Oh no, I thought he was going to give us a magnificent yawn from up atop his perch. Oh, here it comes. There we go. That was also not a very big yawn, but a yawn nonetheless. Guy's standing up now and reversing onto his brother. Maybe decided that whatever it is down in that valley needs to be investigated. I wonder if he'll come around the other side of this rock. We'll sit tight for a sec. Here he comes. He is coming around. He is coming around. And there's quite a prominent game path that comes down just in front of him. So I'm hoping he's going to use that to come down onto the road. Here he comes. I wonder if he hasn't maybe spotted a warthog or an impala, and he's decided to go and investigate. Now, at this age, he's probably still a bit too ungainly to capture an adult warthog or an adult impala, but he might want to go and see if he can stalk up to it, and you can't blame him for trying. This is how he'll learn, or part of how he'll learn how to hunt, or part of growing up for him. Just behind that rock for now. I'm going to make sure that I'm not in your way when he does come down onto the road. Here he comes. I said ungainly, he just slipped. Shame. Here he comes. So there we go, look at the back of his neck. See that bit of a mohawk of a mane? Walking very slowly, very stealthily into the road. I still haven't seen what it is that he said. Oh, here comes his brothers, everybody. There's one of the younger sub-adults is coming down the same path. So currently 3 of the young male lions in sight. They're going to join their brother in the road shortly, though. You'll see them soon. Let's stick on the one in the road for now. Look at how interested he is. He's looking down into the grass. I don't want to move just yet. We don't want to give... I did say that it was unlikely that they would be able to catch anything at this age, but still don't want to upset the balance here between predator and prey. So here's one of the younger males. Look how much smaller he is. Karishma, you're saying that they look very well fed. They certainly don't look like they're starving. Hey, Karishma, their bellies are not super fat, but they look like they've had some good meals in recent times. So here, look at how much smaller this young male is than the first one. So this is one of the younger 3. And listen to the monkeys. The monkeys have spotted him. They've started to alarm call. I'm going to keep quiet for a sec. It is behind us. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Those alarm calls coming from the monkeys. Oh, and a 4th young male is now coming down the hill as well. A 4th young male is now coming down the hill. And this is now one of the older 2. Oh, it seems like we've got a group of sub-adult lions on a mission this evening, led by that one slightly older one in the front there. I still don't know what it is that he's spotted. But now that looking at him from here, he's looking back towards his brothers, almost looking lost, as if to say, guys, I can't see what I saw earlier. Can one of you please direct me which way I should go? Maybe also just looking back to see if he's got the company and the almost a bit of backup to help him in his quest. Oh, the young male up on the rock has got a stick in his mouth, everybody. We're just going to go across to the young male up on the rock. Look at that stick he's got. Decided that this is much more interesting than his cousin's conquests. But all 5 of the youngsters now have come out onto the rocks here in front of us. They're kind of all spread out. There's the one that's down in the bottom of the dip, still heading towards an unknown target. And the rest of these youngsters are kind of watching them, keeping an eye on his progress. Okay, I'm going to keep quiet for a second, everybody, just so we can listen to the bird calls around us, sounds of the bush going to sleep as the sun sets. It was quite nice just listening to the couple of different bird calls in the distance, calling their last as the sun sets. And then I'm sure you could hear the monkeys there. They're getting very, very, very upset at the presence of that young male lion. We're gonna wait for them to cross down into the road, and then we'll try and reposition for a better view to see what these youngsters get up to.
We've got something that we don't have to keep up with because it's always here, but it might not be here for very long because this is a wonderful, huge knobthorn tree that has unfortunately been attacked by elephants. They are the predators of trees. And as you can see here, there's some very wonderful markings that you can really see very clearly now with the light on the tree as it is. This is where the tusks of an elephant, This is where the tusks of an elephant gouged the bark, which is this rough stuff here protecting the tree, gouged the bark off and managed to rip it off. And the reason being is that they wanted to eat the sugary substance that's below the bark. And now this poor tree, unfortunately, is not going to survive. It's been completely debarked around the whole tree, and so there's no more nutrients traveling up and down. So this tree might last season with whatever nutrients and fluids are currently up there, but once the season's done, this tree is unfortunately going to die. It will probably get eaten by wood-boring insects as well that will want the heartwood, the dead wood of the tree. Remember, this part here is not living. This is completely inert. And one thing that the elephants are after is this stuff, which I actually just peeled off a moment ago. This is called the cambium layer Right, this stuff over here is what holds, or this reddish substance, is what it has a little bit of nutrients in it. And it's very fibrous, as you can see. When it's nice and wet, this is dry as the elephants have exposed it. But when it's nice and wet, it's very fibrous and holding a bit of nutrients. You can actually still feel that it's a bit sticky, which is quite cool. I did just now, when I was pulling a small piece off, I didn't know if Gerrit had the camera on me, and FC found me chewing on it. It's not tasty, I can tell you that much right now. I'm not an elephant. I don't like eating knobthorn cambium layer. But as you can see, it's very fibrous. And if you keep this nice and moist, it's actually can make a fairly good flip as well. You have to peel, or doing a very good job, to be honest. And again, I don't have the skills. But if you peel it very thinly, keep it nice and moist, and then what you'd do is you'd rub it in your hands until all the fibers join together, and you'd have kind of like a hemp rope. It's very effective. I know some of these natural fiber ropes we've used before to practice to actually pull cars. So if Gerrit and I do get stuck, at least I know which tree I need to come to. Cool.
So we have discovered the object, or rather animal, that this young male lion spotted from his rocky perch, and I think that he's being ambitious, to say the least. It's an enormous buffalo bull. And I don't know if you can see him sticking out of the long grass there. Off to the left, you might just be able to see his black ear tips. Look at how he's sitting with his ears out to the side, behaving just as you would have seen his mother and aunts do whenever they hunt, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. Unfortunate that the monkeys are giving him away by alarm calling at him. But like I said, I think that's being very ambitious for him to try and stalk a fully grown buffalo bull. And here are the other sub-adult males, all in the road, not quite sharing the optimism of the first young male, but still watching him, interested. We'll see if they start to follow him. George, you're asking if these young males will become a coalition. George, because they're all such a similar age, I think that they probably will. They'll probably stick together, and the 5 of them will go off together once they get pushed out of their pride by the dominant males, by the fathers, or by their fathers. And yeah, I mean, 5 youngsters together it does happen, and it's certainly not unheard of, especially in the Greater Kruger area, where there's coalitions of 5 males that go off together. And this is exactly how it will start. These 2 sets of brothers that are related, that are cousins, that are similarly aged, that will then go independent together. Minamu, you are asking if this coalition of males will accept that white male lion. Minamu, this is a different area, a different pride. So that white lion is over at andBeyond in Ngala, over at andBeyond Phinda, where we are currently. We don't have any white lions here. But it would be unlikely that they would accept an outsider, a lion that's not from their pride. It does happen every now and then, but it's not the norm. Look at all these lions now looking down. I wonder what they've seen now. Oh, there's a bird. There's a little, looks like maybe a chagra. Oh no, there's a rattling cisticola that's flitting around in the long grass. And that seems to be what these little lions are looking at, making a lot of commotion in the long grass there. Lots of yawning going on, stretching. These lions seem to have been resting up in the rocks here, out of the wind for the day, keeping warm in the sun. And now they've decided that it's time to move around. There's no sign of their mothers, but I'm sure that the lionesses are not too far from here. But super special to get to see all of these youngsters, and again, just to follow their story as they grow, and I suppose just to see their almost attitude that they give off. Just this group of young males off on an adventure into the evening, and we're going to see what happens here. Maybe this youngster will try to stalk a little bit closer to that buffalo.
That sounds like an excellent story. I hope that they do try to stalk. We have a lovely bull here. Can you see that there's something strange going on with these tusks? It's kind of like having crooked teeth that have other unfortunate unintended consequences. Because the tusks are an extension of the animal's teeth. They're modified incisors. And this one is strangely curved inward, or like tucked underneath the trunk. I haven't seen that before. We've seen instances where it's completely turned around, and like Fang, where her tusk faces her knee, the curve. So that's quite interesting. So when elephants start to develop their tusks, as very young calves, about a year old, they have what's called tushes, which are basically tusks that you don't see, and they grow beneath the skin there, so they don't poke out. And those actually give direction to the tusks when they start to grow. And this looks like it's been growing this way for a long time. So possibly there was a problem with this bull's tushes when it was a calf. And instead of offering the correct direction for tusk growth, it offered this slightly skew direction. I think it adds character. It would affect the way that he feeds and how well he'd be able to break branches, how well he'd be able to fight with other males. But he still has one very good one. We should give us another angle. Grace, you'd like to know, why do African elephants have bigger ears than Indian elephants? That's a really, really good question. You know, Indian elephants are more closely related to mammoths than African elephants, so it might be something that is just a product of their genetics. But it may also be the fact that the climate in Africa is hot and dry. So the climate in Asia is also very warm, but it tends to be warm and wet. Savannas are open, dry environments, or like here it's a mixed woodland savanna. And the need to dissipate more heat might be a little bit stronger. Apart from that, African elephants are larger than Asian elephants. So dissipating heat will be a little more difficult. Really interesting tusk there. I'm just going to move 10 meters ahead so we can get a good look. That's a nice view. All right, Aaron, you say, though, you had a question about whether there'll be a a problem with dominance or within the males, whether this individual will be low ranked because of this tusk. Well, it doesn't really work like that within elephant social dynamics. So males, those that are larger and older, tend to mate more. And when it comes to dominance, or when you're thinking about a hierarchy, it essentially is who gets to mate most, because that's the most important thing as an animal. How can I create most of me and make sure that my genes are the best ones to go forward? So the largest, oldest, and therefore most musty males are the ones that get to mate. Now, male or bulls are able to mate from their teens into their 20s, but they'll only actually be not just successful in mating, but actually have the opportunity to mate with a female who is in estrus only in their 30s. Because the rest of the time, those big, musty, experienced older bulls are taking precedent. And that's not really a hierarchy. That's just a result of the biggest and best needing to mate first. So that's why he's by himself, and he's not really competing with anybody. The only time that tusk will become a problem in that scenario is when he's got to actually combat with other males for females, which I assume he would avoid for a little while.
So we were going to show you something else, but now we've come across the spotted hyena. Well, actually, the spotted hyena came to us, and it's the one with only one working eye. Can you see how pale that one eye is, the left eye? I think it's the pale eye. I can't really tell. It's going behind us now. It's very tricky. It's going to come on the other side, though. So this female we know quite well. It's actually got two youngsters that she's suckling at the moment, which is really awesome. We're just going to wait a moment for it to try and come on the other side of the car. Oh, I can't see it at all. Oh, there she goes. So she's one of the Pridelins clan, and she's one of the mothers. So she's probably on her way back to the den now. She spent the day out exploring maybe, or maybe last night she found something a bit far from the den and decided to sleep the day somewhere else. And now she's off to go and say hi to the kids. So you see the teats are swollen there. Can you see that just between her back legs? She is... Oh, look at that. She's stopped. She's listening. See those big ears? She relies on those ears to tell her when she hears another predator or something going on, some sort of action, and then she'll go rush there and try and see if she can get a piece of the kill with the rest of the clan. But she looks very fat, so maybe she did eat something last night. Fantastic. Well, I'm so glad that we saw her. Oh, there's some impalas there. See, the impalas don't seem to be too worried. They're not alarm calling or anything. This hyena is not showing any signs of aggression towards them. It's not trotting, it's just walking along the path. So the impalas are not worried. They think, she's not hunting, she's just on the move. If she was hunting, hiding behind the bushes, stalking or charging towards them, they would probably be alarm calling and running away. But they've actually all stopped now. So amazing in the bush. Everything seems to know when it's necessary for them to be afraid. But what we actually wanted to show you is we talked about that knobthorn tree and how the bark is really good for making rope. So what I've done is I used skills passed down from generation to generation of guide to create this double plait for the rope, and I couldn't quite figure out the third one. But I tell you what, with just two, I'm sure that because I'm a master braider, this is going to be strong enough to stand the test. Okay, are you ready? Gert, let's have a go. We're going to see if we can... Oh, okay. That didn't really work as much as I thought. Well, it's very strong, I can assure you. Let's try again. That was a weakness. That was a weak piece. See? Okay, no. No, it was poor. This tree, it was too dry. It was too dry. It wasn't optimal. If I find the right stuff, it'll be okay. Or we're all just way too strong. We probably just don't even know our own strength. Well, Gert doesn't know his own strength. I know my strength, and I could not break that when I tried with my two arms. So, and it helps if you have bigger than twiglet arms. Okay, what we're going to do is probably try and follow that hyena and see where she's going. That'll actually be quite interesting. She might be heading towards the den. We actually saw another hyena right when we left the first group of elephants that was drinking, and it was also heading back towards the den site. So maybe all the members of the clan have been out foraging, and now they're heading back to the den site in order to, re-meet up with all the rest of the members and maybe let the youngsters suckle a little bit. There's at least 4 youngsters in that group. It's really great to see them, and they actually are starting to walk all over. They often visit us in our camp at night. They've actually taken to stealing shoes. Many of the students leave their shoes outside. To be honest, if you smelt those shoes, you would probably also want to leave them outside. And the hyenas love it. They steal them all the time. So there's a question from Tammy whether we have very large hyena clans, and certainly the clan that's here on Pridelands is fairly large. I know we've seen at least 9 individuals in one place before, not including youngsters, which there are at least 4 youngsters, maybe even more. So that would make at least 13 individuals in the clan. So it's fairly decent size, and we don't know if that's all of them. But certainly in some parts of the Greater Kruger, which we're part of, we sometimes have clans of up to 40 individuals moving around. And that's a very powerful clan, but it's quite unusual, quite rare. I know I've spoken about it before, but in the Ngorongoro crater in East Africa, there is actually... the dynamic has changed there. The lions are no longer really the top predator or the most dominant. We find that the hyenas there are more dominant. And so their clans get very, very large. They do most of the hunting. And in fact, quite a lot of the time, the lions do the scavenging from them. So that's very interesting. But we'll keep watching the Pridelands clan and see how they develop.
I was about to deliver, man. She's linking quick. Welcome back, everybody, to Juma this time. We're watching the last embers of the sun dwindle in the west. And as always, I'd like all of you to just take a moment, deep breath. Enjoy. Let's quickly go over to some lions.
You've joined us just in time, everybody. Now, this buffalo is coming straight towards these young lions. And the lions, for the time being, well, I was going to say are holding their ground, but that youngster in the front looks like it's caved. Now, oh, he's chickening out. They were very brave when the buffalo had its head down, but now that it's actually looking at them, they've had second thoughts. Now, looking at this buffalo, have a look at how, I don't know if you can see it, but it's really, really skinny. Look at its back and its hips. A really old buffalo bull. And so probably kind of extra ready to defend itself. With it being in the state that it's in, it's not going to be able to run as it normally would. So it'll be extra ready to defend itself by fighting rather than running away. So if these lions do go any closer, I think this buffalo is going to try and chase them away. But if it turns and tries to run, or even if it just moves away, the game is going to be on and these young lions are going to go after it. Now, I did say earlier that these lions are definitely much too young and inexperienced to tackle something as large as this buffalo. But it's all good learning experience for them. And now there's a bit of a standoff. Look at this. Buffalo looking at them. Here he comes. He's walking towards them. Here he goes. And the lions go away. But they're not running too far. It's still interesting for them. They might be, even though they might be young, they might realize, hang on, there's something not quite right with this buffalo. He looks old, he looks skinny. They're predatory instincts are telling them that there's an opportunity here, even if they're not quite old enough and strong enough to take full advantage of it. This is now just a game. Look at how that front lion is lying flat, trying to keep himself as inconspicuous as possible with this buffalo approaching. I don't think he'll hold his nerve very long though. Look how close that buffalo is walking to them. This is ridiculous. And now the front two also lie, or both of the lions in the front are lying flat. The buffalo is obviously not really concerned by it though. Look at how he's now put his head back into the grass, carried on grazing, and just shooting them the odd glance. As if to say, pesky kids. Great question from Aaron. You're asking how lions keep track of each other when they hunt. Great question from Aaron. That is a very good question. So while we have this wonderful view of them, of the backs of their heads, look at those black spots on the backs of their ears. So look at how well those spots contrast against the surrounding grass. And look at how, if we can see those ear spots, we can kind of tell where the lion is looking. So that's one way that lions, when they're hunting in long grass, they'll be able to kind of keep tabs on one another and know where each other are looking, so to speak. So they can all make sure that they're looking in the same direction. They've also, I don't know, it's tough to see now, but I don't know if you've ever seen on the tip of a lion's tail, they've got those black pom-poms. That's also another very starkly contrasting color against the grass. So they can help, or that can help them to keep track of each other as they stalk through long grass. But with that being said, it often doesn't seem to have much coordination. The lions kind of circle around whatever animal they're hunting and they charge in, and sometimes they select the same individual and sometimes they all select different ones, and it ends up looking like a bit of chaos. But those spots on the backs of the ears and that kind of black pom-pom on the end of the tail, that's one of the ways that these lions can help to keep tabs on each other while they hunt. Look at that youngster now. See how it's got its ears pressed back? It's still interested in this buffalo. Oh, and now with the buffalo's rear end turned towards them, it must be so tempting for them to go and jump on the back of that buffalo. Stuck in bed, you're asking how long until Mom gets back. Stuck in bed, I'm actually not sure. I don't know if Mom is even here. She might be up on the rocks behind us where these youngsters were resting, or she and the rest of the lionesses might be off hunting somewhere. In which case these youngsters could be left alone for the whole night and maybe into tomorrow morning sometime. Depends how long it takes for the lionesses to, if they're hunting, to catch and kill something and then to come back and look for these youngsters. Or it might be that they wake up just now and come in search of their youngsters and find them trying to hunt a massive buffalo bull. It was actually I had a good chuckle at myself just now as we watched these youngsters filing down across the road in the direction of the buffalo. I was convinced that there were 6 lions. I thought, oh, okay, awesome, it must be that one of the lionesses is up in front leading the charge, maybe trying to actually seriously catch this buffalo, which is quite unusual for here at andBeyond Phinda. The lions here, because there's so many zebra and wildebeest and Ngala and warthogs, they don't hunt buffalo here very often. So I thought, wow, this is going to be really unusual. And then I thought, no, something's not right. And in the 6 lions, I had counted what I thought was a lion's tail in the road in front of us. And then I had a closer look with my binoculars, and it was actually a stick. It was a stick with a burnt tip on it. So, yeah, I got tricked by a stick. Anyway, we're gonna see what transpires here. I'm pretty sure that these youngsters are probably gonna give up pretty soon. If they do continue though, we're gonna stick with them for a bit, but if not, we might go and try and get a look at that owl again, everybody. See if it's maybe woken up and is maybe starting to feed on that bush baby carcass.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
So this is fantastic to see. Okay, and I'm actually so pleased that it's right close to the vehicle here, and just the light is right as well. So these beautiful little flowers that we got here, colloquially known as matchsticks, just because of I don't know what matchsticks anyone uses, but I don't use ones that look like this. But anyway, they're called matchsticks. And but look at the little ant walking on it. Tiny little ant. And there's another one coming up to join his buddy. Yeah. So these ones, okay, so the flowers are called mistletoe. Anyone? Any takers? Jean-Dre. Any takers except Jean-Dre. but yeah, so this is mistletoe. So this is it's a hemiparasite on the blackthorn. So it actually can produce its own chlorophyll, and yeah, so it converts sunlight into sugars. But then it's also putting its roots basically into the plant, and then it gets its water and nutrients from the host plant. Sorry, I moved it there. But really what I wanted to point out, those little ants that were walking around there, they're called cocktail ants, because when they get disturbed, they actually cock their tails up. Their little abdomen goes up like that, cocktail ants. So it's not like something that you're going to drink. There's actually one walking there, but yeah, it's very difficult to see. There's one on the base of the flower there now. But what I love is once the seeds are super sticky, so birds eat them, they're lovely, they're very palatable, but the birds actually wipe them off their beak, and it's like soft chewing gum. Very sticky, and then the bird wipes their beak off after feeding on the branch. The larger birds actually passes through the digestive tract, and then it germinates on these branches. The Horsteria go in, and it starts growing. But the host plant also starts putting a lot of extra nutrients and proteins into that area to try to protect itself. And over here you can actually see here's an old base of one that's broken off, and you can see that. It's quite difficult there, but you can see that. But what becomes really cool about this setup, some of these mistletoe get really large. I mean, they get to like size of 2-3 tennis balls, big thing like that. And because it's very soft wood, okay, it's often hollow inside. But then, so the ants create their nest inside these parasitic plants, these mistletoe. And then you get a little butterfly, and there's a couple of different species here that do them. But the butterflies actually lay their eggs on the leaves of the mistletoe. And then the larvae hatch, and they actually live inside those ant nests during the day. They actually give off a pheromone that mimics the ants, and so the ants don't go for the butterfly larva. And they come out at night when there's less chance of being predated on by other things, and they feed on the leaves of these mistletoe. So if all of us are still around, watching WildEarth in a couple of months' time, when these butterflies start coming out, and then we've got like 78 different species recorded here of range of butterflies, not particularly these ones. But then I'm actually going to try to show you the larvae, which will be very difficult, but the adults are spectacularly beautiful. So this will be quite an interesting one to watch over the coming months.
Thanks, Dylan. Hopefully you get your kiss. We're at Buffelshoek watering hole, looking at the decimated torchwood tree and listening to some fork-tailed drongos. that sandgrass in the background. Very gently. There's our grebe beaks. A little grebe. So serene. You can see that the wind has died down, everybody. Ice and snow on the mountains. There goes the water thickening across the screen. See how gentle and picturesque it is as the air temperature or pressure has dropped. It's going to be a wonderful evening. Great to have one of these guys in your swimming pool to pick up the leaves and the insects, wouldn't it? I jest. Very good catching insects. Proper power stroking there. The legs are very powerful, but they've got very fat feet. Very big rudders pushing underneath the water. You can imagine those little floatable bicycle things that you sit on. You go there with your friend or your partner and you sit on this thing and you pedal the wheel and it pushes those massive big oars under the water and propelling you forward. It's essentially the power that the grebe has, and under the water he goes and they take off. They run along the water. They can actually fly. Quite incredible. Picturesque. Very peaceful.
Wow, it is so beautiful out here. Now, I wish you could hear it. The wind, or the breeze rather, it's a very gentle breeze. It is just rustling, the softest rustling through the grass, through the leaves. Just, I can hear it across in the tops of the taller trees now. It's a soothing, gentle sound. It is so beautiful. But it is. It really is. It's just, I wish I could convey that across there. And but I'm just battling. Well, you just got to come visit. Simple as that. That'll solve all of that. So, do we know what that is yet? That thing, and there's, you can actually see, oh look, I'm waving like a crocodile. Okay, any guesses as to what on earth that black thing is? There's $1 million question. Any guesses? Quick one. We won't come back to the segment, but any guesses as to what that is? We'll take two. Take two. Come on. It's a big black object on the ground. We need a guess. At least one guess. Come on. Oh, Penelope, you are way too good. It is an ostrich. It's an ostrich male lying on a nest. So we actually saw him probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, give or take 2 weeks ago. So he's on the nest, his head is actually facing to the left. We can't see it from where we are. I had to climb up on the bonnet to like look down like it. But he's on eggs. The female will be around somewhere in the vicinity. We'll keep our eyes peeled for her. But I'm going to be very impressed with them actually, if they're raising chicks in this very, very densely wooded area. When I say dense, I mean there's quite thick undergrowth over here, and obviously there's a risk of predation associated with that. Caracal, jackals, leopard, lion, that kind of stuff. But anyway, so far so good. He's been here, and there'll be a couple of weeks yet to go. Or that being said, I actually don't know when he started incubating, so let's see. But we'll keep coming back to him. But I just wanted to show you that. But look at beautiful camouflage.
That is awesome. That sounds amazing. Now I have found some more elephants because that is what I'm good at today. Finding elephants. And they are very close to Treehouse Dam, so hopefully they will have a drink soon. Let's have a quick look through here. You can see there's a bit of the sun, a bit of the sunlight peeking over there at the horizon. Very noisy eaters. I'm in the hyena den block. I've just been checking every now and then, and I still haven't seen them. But it was also quite cold, especially today, and I know that they don't really come out when it's cold like that. Oh, I think I see one drinking. Let's go down to the dam. That's it, just ahead of me. My eyes can deceive me at this time, though. They are definitely drinking at the dam. So I'm going to pop up onto the dam wall and I'll send you over to Phinda in the meantime.
Welcome back, everyone. We left our 5 intrepid young lions to continue with their attempt at harassing that buffalo. And we've come back to this Verreaux's eagle owl in the hope that we're going to get to watch it start to feed on its bush baby kill. As we got here, there were a few fork-tailed drongos that were mobbing it incessantly and calling and screeching. But they didn't chase it away. It's still here. You're asking why the owl hasn't started eating yet. To be honest, I'm not sure. I think that it's probably still waking up, and once it has done so, I'm pretty sure it will then start to feed. that would be my best guess, is that it's still asleep, and it's not wanted to abandon its kill during the day, so it's kept it in its talons, basically slept on top of it the whole day to make sure that nothing comes and steals it, no other marauding diurnal birds of prey. But I'm pretty sure that soon it's either going to fly away with it, maybe to another perch and feed there, or it's going to start feeding here. Now, at this time of year, here in Southern Africa, this is the time of year that these Verreaux's eagle owls typically breed. And I wonder if this isn't maybe a part of a pair, and they don't maybe have a nest nearby. And perhaps it will take this bush baby kill back to the nest to feed to its mate or to feed to their chicks. But it is certainly a very special scene to see an owl like this with its prey. And especially such a big prey item. We often get to watch owls catching things like little insects or spiders, scorpions and frogs, but seldom do we get to actually see one with a big prey item like this. We're going to stick here, and hopefully we get rewarded with this owl starting to feed on this bush baby.
Look at this, we've made it to the dam. How gorgeous, the last bit of light. And these guys having a drink. Beautiful silhouettes. I may have to move. Just okay, let me just wait. I am being boxed in. It's okay, let's just wait it out. All good. Well, I think I'd love to just sit and enjoy. These wonderful elephants having a drink. A little free-tailed bat just flew past my face. It's gonna be the most difficult thing Niels will ever have to show you if I... Shall we try, Niels? To go for this free-tailed... Oh, and it's flying away. Amazing. All right, Steve has something special for you. Let's go over and see what.
Thanks, Trish. We had a hyena there for a moment, but it's gone off into the thickets. And they're not going to be following. There we go. I'm not sure who it was. It was one of June's. One of the three lions down the side. Can't remember the names. I don't have my ID kits on me, I'm afraid, so sorry about that, everybody. One of the little ones, out and about on its own. Okay, so he's walking straight towards the car, playing so nicely with us, and then suddenly ran off into the bushes, which is what they do. And we are slowly making our way home into some really nice orange light. Really wonderful evening it's been with the wind gone. It's probably going to be a pretty fresh morning though. But quite a busy evening, I'm sure, for all of the other guys.
So it's certainly been a gorgeous afternoon out here at Tswalu. I was very, very pleased that we actually managed to track down the location of those lion cubs. We didn't see them, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm just happy as a pig in mud. Actually, I was a pig in mud this morning, come to think of it. But I'm happy as a pig in mud just being out here, and it's, just the scenery is just unreal. Absolutely unreal. The sunset, everything has just been fantastic. And just having you all with us is just really, really makes it that much more special. Yeah, there's some afternoons like this, you don't even have to look for stuff. You just amble along, enjoy being outside, and that kind of like makes it all worth it. So that's very profound.
Dylan, that is you every day. Absolutely every day. You always pay attention to the little things and take time to give them some love, which I think is very, very important. We're still here with this gorgeous scene. Look at that reflection. There's more elephants streaming down to drink. How pretty is that? Sorry, I just hit my cap there. There's two elephants having a bit of a box. Behind me there, they don't particularly like to be spotlit rather. So they get a bit irritated. Becca, I'm gonna grab that one from you again. No, it was about mammalian characteristics, or human characteristics. But I wasn't sure which ones you were asking about. Joy in Hong Kong. Hello, how are you? You would like to know if the characteristics we talk about often, like joy and fear or irritability and those kind of things, if they are mammalian characteristics or they are human characteristics. Very often they are human characteristics, but it's important to know that there are certain characteristics that are important and specific to our survival, such as fear or safety, feeling of security, feeling of happiness or pleasure because you have gotten the water that you wanted or the food that you wanted. So it may not be associated with whether you feel good about yourself or whether another animal came up to you and told you look good today, so you feel good about it, but more that it's a basic form of what humans elaborate on. Mammals are particularly good at this because their needs are a little bit more advanced than, say, reptiles or birds. They invest in parental care most of the time. And investing in parental care means that they experience certain emotions a little bit strongly. In fact, emotions is the wrong word. Certain feelings they get strongly. Feelings of desire, feelings of satisfaction. And it, like I said, it's not as complex as mother loves me or doesn't, but I've got the food I wanted and I'm satisfied and I'm happy. So imagine that we do share very many experiences and feelings, the complexity of which, though, can be quite different.
We've been sitting here with our Varroa's eagle owl, hoping that it's going to start feeding, but so far it hasn't done very much other than sit in that exact same spot. And while we've been sitting here, it's just been the most special kind of auditory experience. We can hear a male lion roaring in the distance off to the west. We could hear a side-struck jackal alarming in the distance to the south. And a couple of times now we've heard a thick-tailed bush baby crying out into the night. Could be that it is perhaps even calling out for this particular individual, in which case it's not going to get an answer, unfortunately, as sad as that is. It is part of nature, and this eagle owl is certainly going to feast well tonight once it decides to start eating. And I think now is a good time to let you all in on the joke. This is actually not a real eagle owl. This is a taxidermied one that we climbed up into the tree and put up there before drive. No, I'm just joking. It is actually a Varroa's eagle owl, I promise all of you. Although it is behaving like it's not alive at the moment. But probably a little bit later on this evening it will start to pluck out the fur and the flesh. George, you're asking what the largest prey is that this owl would be able to tackle. George, these owls are, I spoke a little bit about it earlier, they are incredibly powerful, and they're known for hunting things up to the size of a half-grown monkey. An adult monkey normally weighs about 5.5 kilograms, so perhaps about a 2-kilogram monkey. They've been reported catching young warthogs, and then even other birds of prey, things like secretary birds, another very large species of owl that we get here in southern Africa called a Pell's fishing owl, which is almost as big as this Varroa's eagle owl. They've been recorded catching and killing those. Bush babies. I've seen one flying over water, presumably trying to catch frogs or fish. They've got a massive variety to their diet. But it's been an amazing sighting seeing this owl, even though we didn't get to watch it eat. And a super awesome afternoon all around from all the different properties. And it's been wonderful having you all on board. And who knows what tomorrow will bring, but we'll see you all again tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.